Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Jungle Brothers podcast. It's Joey here, and today I'm joined by Ty and Paul to talk about training with injuries. Ty recently copped a pretty gnarly injury to his elbow, and so thought it'd be a good opportunity to dive into that and have a bit of a chat in general about the process of being injured, how that affects your mindset, and what it looks like when you are on a consistent training trajectory and then you cop an injury, and just sort of how it fits into the whole scheme of things. So hope you enjoy the chat. Also, on a technical issue, I need to apologize. We've had some issues getting our show published on iTunes and Google Podcasts of late. It was to do with us changing our website a few weeks ago. The shows have been coming up on Spotify, but they haven't been coming up on the other platforms. So I have it fixed now, but what it means is we haven't had an episode come up on those other platforms or even on Spotify. I didn't want to release anything new until I knew we'd fixed the problem. So the problem is fixed. Thank you for bearing with us. Here we are. Hope you enjoy the show. Hey guys, Joey here. I wanted to tell you about a couple of really cool courses we've got coming up here at the gym soon. The first is our movement workshop. This is happening in May, and it is the first time we've run this. This is 2 days where you'll learn the foundational approach we use to building robust, durable humans. So we cover all of the exercises and training techniques we use in the gym, from movement, bodyweight strength, barbell, kettlebell work, and mobility training. And you will leave the course with a global understanding of how you can apply these exercises to people at any stage of their training journey. The course is for anyone. So for people who are just looking to expand their own exercise arsenal, through to coaches and gym owners who want to upgrade their knowledge. There are no prerequisites to enroll. We're looking at 2 pretty big full days here at the gym. Lots of training in that one. The second course is our Coaches Intensive, and this we've run quite a bit. This will be coming up in June this year, and this is where you learn the key skill sets required to become a world-class coach and build a successful PT business. So everything from programming through to coaching essentials like public speaking, leadership, community building, and even sales and marketing, so you can learn how to sell your services while staying true to your values. That is also a full weekend. You can find information on both of those courses at the Jungle Alliance website. So that is junglealliance.com /upcoming-courses. And you can see it all there. If you are interested and you want to enroll, you do get a discount for being a listener of the podcast. You can use the code JBPodcast and you'll get 20% off your enrollment. So movement workshops coming up in May and the Coaches Intensive coming up in June. I hope to see you there. I will be facilitating both of those workshops myself. All right, let's get into the episode. Guys, we fucked up on the tech side again, but it's not my fault. I apologize. You guys are sharing a mic. Paulie's got the short straw once again.
I'm okay with that.
He got to swing the mic from one side of the table to the other to get a word in. So, apologies, technical issues, but we will overcome once we can talk with someone who knows how to fix this shit. Big Ty, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, Boogie Bandit, you know Ty, Coach Ty down here at Jungle Brothers, handstand coach, the breaker, the hip-hop guy, soon to be family man.
That's it.
Little baby. Oh, bro, I didn't even say congratulations on the engagement.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, that happened while I was away.
Yeah. Sunday. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That was, tell me, so the baby shower is this Sunday.
Yep.
Was that planned to get engaged right before that? Like, is this kind of a party to cover all?
I guess it sort of worked out that way. Initially, I had planned to do it at the baby shower.
Oh.
Not a good idea.
Why's that?
I had a chat to one of my clients about it, and she was pretty much just like, don't do that. Like, it's a bad idea. You don't want her to ugly cry in front of everybody.
To ugly cry.
Not just that, like, you know, the baby shower is supposed to be about the baby. Yeah. Don't want it to be about the engagement. And if we do it the week before, she gets to have her moment to herself. She gets to let it settle, and then she can show it off to everybody else.
Ah, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Did she ugly cry when you proposed?
No, she didn't. If she did, I wouldn't say either.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So that's this Sunday, and that's like, and from what I can tell, it's a pretty big baby shower. Like, it's wide-reaching, a lot of friends, a lot of family.
Yeah, it's a bit of an event. I think depending if everyone comes at confirmed, but I think we got close to 100 people.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's
It's going
cool.
to be a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a band. Got some styling happening in terms of the venue.
Oh.
Yeah, one of our friends who's an interior designer managed to get a couple of bits and pieces together,
Yep.
and then all the aunties just making Filipino food.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Will there be fried chicken?
maybe, don't know.
Fucking
Yeah.
cool. I'm excited for that.
It's going to be sick.
Did you do anything, Paul, like that with any of your three? Did you ever have baby showers? Or did Tash have baby shower?
Yeah, she did. I don't remember any of them.
No.
Maybe I probably attended them, but they were definitely not the big Tongan baby showers or the big island baby showers.
Islander ones are typically big.
Yeah, especially the Tongan ones. They're huge. They spend like thousands of dollars on the cake and the venue. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Absolutely.
Like it's kind of up there
Oh.
with like a...
I think I'm getting mixed up with the first birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting mixed up.
Fuck, there's like no shortage of reasons to have... like for celebrations like that once kids are involved, is there?
No, totally. And I think like I've learned in the Filipino culture with Clarice and her family, it's pretty much like any excuse for all the family to get together. You
Right.
know, so every event is like an event because they like reach out invitation to their extended family and their cousins and godparents and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I went to one of my friends when I was growing up, a guy called Robbie Seabug, was a Filipino dude, and I went to his sister's wedding, and it was like his older sister, and we were like punk teenagers, hanging around the shopping center and stuff, and I can't remember how it happened. He's like, "Oh, my sister's getting married on the weekend, like, you guys should come." So a couple of us were like, "Okay," we went along, and it was at some church out west, and it was enormous, huge reception, hundreds of people. I don't think I've ever been to a wedding that big, and you know, we're kind of participating sort of begrudgingly in whatever's going on, and they did the bit where the thing gets pulled off the bride's leg, yeah, the garter belt, and thrown,
Oh, yeah?
and it's like, who's going to catch it? And they threw it, and it was me and Robbie and a couple of the Tongan twins, John and Josh, and the thing landed right in front of us, and because we were like 15 or whatever, we were like jumped back and we were like, I'm not touching it, I don't fucking want it, you get it. No, bro, it's closer to you kind of thing. And they were like, stop, and they're like, do it again. And so they re-threw the thing, and we all felt a bit guilty, so I was like, fuck it. And I caught it. And I can't remember how it played out, but there was the process was that I had to go back and put it on her leg. Is that standard operating procedure? So I don't.
What culture is this?
She's Filipino.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So she's sitting there, and like everyone's like around, and now it's just me and her, and I've got to go and put this thing back like over her shoe and onto her leg. But because I wasn't one of the family, or I wasn't a Philo, they modified the thing to be like, oh, you can just put it on her ankle. Like they didn't want it was yeah. So I could, and there was this awkward kind of few minute delay while the uncles are like deliberate. No, we can't have this fucking gringo put it on her leg, man. That's fucked up. And so like they're like, oh, just put on her ankle, please. And then I put it on. It was like, and I was like, oh, this sucks. But I remember feeling like I had no idea what it was all about.
Doesn't sound very Catholic.
No, yeah, I was like, this is a bit risque. My mate's older sister.
Damn.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
But let's see how we go this Sunday anyway. Oh, wait.
It's a baby shower.
It's not a wedding. Yeah. Oh, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just got back from T's gym, and I thought I should give you guys a little update. Yeah. It's the gym's fucking awesome. So for those listening, the gym just had its second flood. So they had the big flood, which is up north, is the northern part of New South Wales. So Northern Rivers is the area just below Queensland border. They had a huge flood, like fucking earth-shattering flood, like a month ago, and that was where the most amount of damage was done to the gym. And it was, you know, you can see there's like a meter high tide mark around the place. So everything in the gym was essentially submerged. Shit was floating. And then once that receded, that left a layer of mud on everything, which, you know, we all saw like on their Instagram and stuff. Jungle Ballina, if you want to have a look at the pictures of the mud, really gross because that was a bunch of like sewage and chemicals and like agricultural chemicals and fucking, it had all come from Lismore. So a whole town became submerged and then that flooded into their town. So it was like just so much like gunk in it. But I went up there after they had a second flood, which was like, what was that, like 2 or 3 weeks later? And that flood was not as big, but still engulfed the gym. The gym still filled up with water. But luckily for them, it was clean water this time. So it didn't bring all of that gunk with it. And so by the time I got there, the place was damp and they were drying stuff out, but it didn't stink or anything. It was quite fortunate. Because I was like, the gym feels kind of, I didn't know, I don't know, I was expecting the whole town to stink or something, and it didn't. They had told me that it had stunk previously. But yeah, so they were doing that. I went up to lend a hand for a few days, got to hang out, spend some time in the gym, got to coach a few classes, which was novel, because I don't do that much anymore. And got to see, still got it, I think, yeah, it's in there. The guys were like, man, don't leave us, man.
Oh, really?
Fuck, that was the best coaching experience I ever had. I was like, guys, please. I got bigger things to do. But it was cool. I got to go to T's house. I got to see where they live. It's fucking remote.
It's so sick, eh?
It's mad. Did you go?
Yeah.
Oh, when did you go?
We went maybe October or September last year.
Oh, wow.
Was it? I don't know.
It's pretty awesome, hey?
Yeah, so sick.
Yeah.
So sick. Yeah, it's a vibe.
But it's like you took on a lot.
Yeah.
It's like middle of right up the back of a valley.
What's their place like? Because from what I saw on the outside, like everything around them was affected, but not in terms of just their place in their house.
Their house is actually fine. Yeah, they were relatively unscathed. The only flood damage on their property is, that huge grass area out the front?
Yeah.
A whole bunch of that, like the river came up to cover a whole bunch of that.
Okay.
And it dumped a bunch of rocks and debris
through
that area. So the grass is kind of back, but there's all these boulders and pebbles and stuff through it, which we spent a bit of time on one of the days trying to clear so we could mow it again.
Yep.
But in the scheme of things, pretty untouched because like their neighbor's house had water like go right through it and then just like exit out of all of the orifices of the house. Damn. And so people got fucked up. And you can see like as that road that goes up and into the place, there's just cars that have just been relocated and tumbled and squashed that are just like trapped up against trees. So they were really fortunate to just not cop any of that directly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He's really good. You know what he's like. He's always really good.
He froths on that.
Yeah, he does. We always say it like he loves having a battle on his hands. And I think that's probably the mother of all battles is like your actual survival and your family's survival. You can see there's ups and downs too because like, fuck, everything's actually pretty awesome. And then, you get into the gym and then you're like, fuck, the reality of it hits you. You're like, oh man, he's trying to grow the business. And obviously this whole event has slowed down the growth of the business, and like we know, like running a gym is really hard. So when you throw that shit in on top of it, plus you don't have any money coming in, it does compound and it gets to you every now and again. But I think all in all, he's able to look at it and go, fuck, things are good. Like prospects for the gym are really great. The people that are there love it. There's new people coming in. I covered some classes so he could do some foundations with new people. They're all frothing about it.
Nice.
So yeah, I think all in all pretty good.
Man.
Yeah. Dee and the family and stuff, like T's wife, they're all awesome. The kids are fucking great. I asked them like if they were freaked out by the floods or anything, and they're like, nah. They're like, it was awesome. There was a river, like, I don't know what they said. It was like, there's like cars and shit coming down here. It was great. Like they found it really fascinating.
Did they swear like that?
I think they did. They're just gone bush now.
Gone full bush. Nah. And how were the general population? I know you mentioned some of the members. Like, what's the general vibe with the people there? Mixed?
Yeah.
Down, up?
From what I could tell, fine. I didn't get into any deep chats with many folk there, but just in my day-to-day dealings, it was like people seemed pretty good. I went to a Jits Academy one night and I rolled with a guy who I don't know where he lived, but he trained in Lismore, so that his gym was flooded completely twice. So they were like jiu-jitsu refugees that had been accepted into this other academy in Ballina. And he rolled like a savage. It was good, but I could see he was a bit depressed about the whole thing. I went to Mullumbimby one day, you know, I almost didn't know that shit had happened in a way, like in those towns. But then I was in Mullumbimby, I went to the hardware store to buy a charger cable for my phone, and I found it and took it off the shelf. And then I noticed that the box had like a layer of dirt on the top of it, and I looked and everything in the whole shop had a layer of dirt on it. So like potentially the whole shop was underwater for a period there. You're like, holy shit, it's like 2 weeks later and it's just business as usual, you know? I think people just get back on with it, don't they?
How about the climbing gym that's being built? Was there any damage to that, and how's the progress?
Progress looks good. From what I can tell, it's all like they're all back on. You know, that the build is like Azza and stuff had been there, I don't know, a month earlier or a few weeks earlier. And from what I can tell, it's progressed a lot since then. It looked like it copped a bit of water damage, but the water just came in and went back out, like was no biggie. Yeah, that place is coming along. Yeah, fucking like actually you stand in it and you look up at the two walls, like you're in the middle of the room and the two walls both have an overhang on either side of you. And when you look to the top of them, it's a little bit like when you'd be in a big studio on set and you look up and you look at the top of it, and I actually couldn't quite focus on the top of it because it's so high and it's so close to you but so far. It's like you can't really get your bearings. Like the shed that it's in is unbelievable. Wow. Yeah. And they've got those two big doors on the front, which currently are just frames. They don't actually have any like skin on the doors, like timber or metal. So it's just
everything's all open at the moment.
Yeah, so it's straight through. It's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, that place will be like the whole place there, the gym, the climbing jungle. Once it is going to blow up. It's going to be fucking cool.
That's so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Great to see Pav. Yeah, great to catch up with a bunch of crew. It was exciting.
Was there much damage to the towns? Or it seemed pretty clean when you went through?
Looked pretty clean. But I think a lot of the damage is probably behind closed doors. Yeah. You know, probably a lot of places that just got fucked up, a lot of houses that are on the water and stuff, I don't know, that just got inundated, you know? Yeah, from my shallow perspective driving through and stuff, it kind of looked all right. But yeah, like apparently like the main road in Ballina, which I drive on every day, apparently when we were first driving down there, when they picked me up from the airport, apparently someone saw a tiger shark swimming down that street. Yeah, there were reports like 2 tiger sharks traveling down the main road, which like you're like, how is that? Like it's just a street now.
Wild.
Yeah, it's wild shit. It's really hard to understand. The height of the shed for the climbing jungle, which is about 14.5 meters based on what I was told, which again is the top of the overhang, which is really hard to perceive. That is how high the water was at its peak in Lismore.
Really?
Yeah, which is taller than our gym. You're like, how the fuck is there that much water in a cloud, you know? Yeah, it's bananas.
Yeah, I saw those. Did you see those? It was their flood footage that came out. There's cameras that are on specific valleys and bridges. You see them? There was time lapses. I guess you got like a road crossing a valley and there's, you know, a body of water underneath it, not a big one. And you just see that fill up and come up to the bottom of the road and then keep going up and up. So you've got like a valley there with a stream at the bottom, and then it would just fill and it would just go above the road, and it would just kind of just join these two peaks of a valley with just water. And it's just to that kind of effect, like over 10 meters of fucking water. It's crazy.
Man.
It's a massive body.
It's some wild shit. And it's like scary we're so, well, in a way, so far, we're so fortunate to live in the city with that stuff. But yeah, like when you get out to T's property, you're like, fuck, you would be at the mercy. Like they were fortunate, but you just, I don't know. it's like the I can't remember who I said this to, but it's like out there, the jungle is winning the battle. Like nature's winning. It's always, and you're just like trying to keep your end. You know, whereas in the city, it's like we're winning because we've got more concrete and more roads and, you know, kind of thing, for better or for worse. Anyways, yeah, it was sick. The coolest thing actually was getting to meet a bunch of his members, running a couple classes, took me back to when we started this gym and when, you know, your gym's kind of young and you've only got a few people coming in. But also just seeing how it's the same people. It's the same tribe. His crew, we had a barbecue on the Saturday. People came through, hung out. We were just hanging out at the gym all day. Same people. There's like that guy, he's a builder. He's a legend, got a few kids. Yeah, T's got him on a few gigs, you know, like helping him with a few things. Got that guy, he's like a health coach. That guy, you know, like just that whole same thing of your like the characters that we have here are like those characters exist elsewhere. And you can, you know, if you take the same culture, like our gym culture, you will attract those same characters. I thought that was really cool.
Classic.
Yeah, it's nice. Let's segue into this injury piece. I want to, Ty, you hurt yourself recently, and I thought it would be a good chance for us to have a chat about injuries and just the reality of them and what it's like training with them, like from both a physical but also a mental perspective.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened to you.
So it was just a normal training session. I was breaking, so I was dancing. I probably trained for about two hours already. I would say it was quite intense. That week, I think I was a little bit tired. I did all the hard stuff at the start, and then I went to another room, to the studio, and I was just practicing something new. And it wasn't even anything super intense. Like, I would consider it close to basic in terms of level of difficulty. However, I just landed wrong in like a tabletop position, and I hyperextended my elbow, which eventually, that tore a ligament. I think the physio called it the collateral ligament on the ulnar. So that joins the muscle here on the forearm near the elbow.
Tore the ligament. Did you feel it at the time?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was my imagination that heard like a pop or a snap sound, or if it was a feeling. But instantly I felt, something was wrong. Couldn't, like, my arm just went dead. I just couldn't use it. It was fucked. Like,
dang.
Yeah.
Tabletop position is like you're like back facing the wall, hands pressed down behind you.
Yep.
Hips are up.
Yep.
Okay.
Feet on the floor. Yep.
Yeah, right. So not a really intense position for you to be in at all.
No. I would say I like jumped to that position.
Yep.
It's hard to describe what I was doing because for the general public it'd be hard to understand. But pretty much dynamically.
Yeah, it was fucking steezy and you guys wouldn't understand.
But it was real basic. Dynamically, I jumped to that position. And then I just felt a pop in my elbow. Arm went dead. And then it was just like, I couldn't really, I could move it, but I tried to test it straight away. I couldn't put any weight on it. I couldn't fully extend it. I couldn't fully flex it, so I couldn't even touch my shoulder with my hand.
Wow.
And then that was it, pretty much. I kept training.
That was the end of your breaking career that day.
Hell no.
Now you're under powerlifting. How do you feel about that?
Fuck that. No, but it was fine. Like, like I just tested what I could do. I was with one of my crewmates, Chico. He was pretty like optimistic about it.
Chico.
He's a G. But like just kept training, and I just tried to do things that I would normally do without using that arm.
Okay, so you can work around it.
Yeah, but as soon as I got back to the gym, because I was supposed to coach that evening, I knew that it wasn't right, and something was probably like, I need to get it checked out, because that'd be something that I'd advise. And then I asked Kyron to recommend me his physio, and then I went straight away. Got in.
And they did some manual assessments?
Yeah. Diagnosed it as a grade 2 tear. So in terms of grades, you've got grade 1, which is like a minor tear. Then grade 2 is supposed to be hanging on. And then grade 3 is a full rupture.
Okay.
So you diagnose it as a grade 2. But for me, because I have no education, I was like, grade 2. I was like, yeah, sweet, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Sounds early. You figure there's like 5 grades at least.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, like maybe it was a 1.5, maybe it wasn't a 2, because now I'm almost back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago did you do it?
3 weeks.
Okay.
Physio said 4 to 6 weeks for full recovery.
Yeah, right.
I want to ask you about the physio and stuff, but maybe just for the folks, can you let them know you're training for a long-term goal, and that's the Olympics, am I right? Can you tell us a little bit about like what your training is, and like, you know, your breakdancing, obviously you love it, but you're also kind of tapping into that sport and competition side of breaking. I know that you've been doing battles, getting experience, you're going through some training with a coach, being JT, right? Yeah, can you just lay that out to give a bit of perspective for this? Because you're on a path. It's not just like breaking just for fun. You know what I mean? Yeah, tell the people.
Okay. Breaking has been accepted for what we know into the 2024 Olympics in Paris. And we had word of it, I would say 1 to 2 years ago within the breaking community. They did a test, I think it was 2020 or 2021 at the Youth Olympics in South America. And that was to see how it'd go. And then, yeah, like I said, from what we know, it's been accepted to 2024. I initially actually came to Jungle Brothers for a coach to go to the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
No, I didn't know that.
yeah, that was
When you came in with Clarice the first time.
Yeah, so it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago because Clarice, she came here first, right? And then she's like, you got to come to the space. Like, the guys are cool. Like, you'll love it, blah, blah, blah. I was a little bit hesitant. But yeah, I walked in and I was like, okay, cool. This is a sick space. Yeah, I teed it up with T to do my coaching. And then fucking 3 months later, he planted the seed and was like, you've got to become a coach. So
He's like,
yeah,
bro, this is going to get you to the Olympics. You need to work here.
pretty much. But yeah, going back in terms of that was initially why I came here. Obviously, it's kind of gone this way and that way in terms of how to get there, because a lot of things have changed in the past 2 years since also being in the space and trying to start my own business, do a new job, do a new role, also be amongst a whole bunch of new people. So it's been a bit challenging, but going towards the Olympics, I guess it's a big goal to have. And in terms of the level here, there are actually a lot of people that are aiming for it. It's a really big opportunity. Because it just
Level here, as in Australia.
Yeah. Like, I would say there's maybe a dozen people that have really taken it seriously and started to really put all their energy into heading towards that direction. Because it'd just be a sick story, right? Like, you could just say, fuck, I just went to the Olympics for breaking. Yeah. You know? And then in that sense, like, I would say six to 8 months ago, I really stepped up in terms of my own training. Because training with T was great, and, you know, I got heaps of exposure, especially to gymnastics, strength training, that kind of stuff. But in terms of learning and developing, obviously having to go into the coaching realm took me in a different way in terms of athleticism and athletic development. And then I approached JT, your boy, Bulletproof.
Oh, yeah. Got you on that Bulletproof method.
That's
He's like,
it.
bro, perfect for BJJ, breaking, whatever you want to do. It's the program.
Exactly. So he's been helping me out with my programming, and yeah, so I do strength training usually 2 times a week, and then I break if I can 2 to 3 times, and then here and there I'll do a couple of sessions with him, one-on-one, doing like plyometrics and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So it's 2024, you say?
Yeah.
Is there, I know it's a fair way out, but can you pull the curtain back for us, like for some of the discussions or the long-term plan with JT? Like, has he spoken, this year we're going to do this, next 6 months, and then obviously you're going to taper it in towards, you know, competitions along the way, and then taper it into the Olympics? Is there that sort of planning? Can you speak on that at all?
I guess, like, I don't necessarily have much transparency in terms of like long-term work and that kind of sense. Yeah, pretty much. I just follow the program. He's the guy. I tell him what's going on, and then I just do what he says. In terms of how the qualification process works, from my understanding, this is the last year to qualify, because next year is going to be development for the dancers or for the athletes. So there's been a battle every month, and I actually have a battle tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
and these are qualification events.
Yeah, so the process is it's based on point accumulation. You earn points by how well you do in a competition, and then the other way to earn points is by your attendance at athletic development sessions. However, since COVID has happened, there haven't been any of those sessions as of late. But because this is also the last year, there's been an event pretty much every month.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it's on.
It's an intense year
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
How many people get selected?
One.
Oof.
One male, one female.
From Australia.
From what I know, that's like Oceania. So I think that's Australia, New Zealand, and maybe the Pacific. We're not part of Asia. There's still a little bit of grey because not everything is 100% confirmed, but it's not a team thing. It's a one-on-one thing.
Wow.
So maybe they'll select 4. You know, they might have one backup of each. But from my understanding, like, it's very like cutthroat.
Damn, that's savage.
Yeah, they might select 4 to go into the next phase next year, and then only one person at the end of that type of deal. Fuck, that's mad. That's awesome.
That's a fucking lofty goal to be chasing.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel, how do you feel about it? Do you feel a sense of like pressure in being in that kind of level of competition, or are you just kind of relishing the opportunity? And
Oh, I think it comes in waves. Like, you know, definitely for me, there's a lot going on. You know, baby's due in 2 months. Proposed just the last weekend. It's mainly the baby. Trying to run my own business.
Yeah.
Trying to make money, and then trying to be an athlete as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure. The past 2 competitions, I think I put too much pressure on myself, and I didn't do as well as what I would usually do, just because of mental pressure. So, to be honest, getting injured 3 weeks ago was a big relief.
because it just took you, it paused things?
Oh, not necessarily paused. It was just like, sweet. Now I've got like Paul said the other week, like now I've got an excuse. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, which is cool. Like, I don't have to care all the time, and that's something that I'm starting to realize. Like, in terms of like competing and breaking, and maybe this is relative for other competitions, you do want to try hard. However, you shouldn't care of the result, you know, so you shouldn't necessarily put the pressure on yourself extra mentally of what you're going to do. You know, it shouldn't dictate how you dance or how you perform as an athlete. It's more about like, I've done all that I can, and now I just do the thing, and I just surrender to the thing, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And usually, like, I've noticed when I'm a lot more careless, I'm a lot more authentic to how I break, and I dance a lot better.
Yeah.
Because the last battle that I won was in December. We had a lot of shit going on that time too. Like, I think it was the same morning or the day before we moved house, and then I had the battle. So I was already like tired and organizing like the whole move, and Clarice was like not necessarily capable of doing any of the lifting and that kind of stuff. It was just like me and my brother, so we had to organize it all. And then did the battle. I won, and it was like, sweet, time to go home. You know?
Yeah.
And I remember like specifically that was the first event that I had been to just after like lockdown. And it was just nice. It was nice to be like in the culture, surrounded by heaps of people from the community that you don't see like very often, and the tunes were good. It was good vibes, and it was just like so much more gratitude for being in that space, for not having that for so long.
Tell me about what you mentioned there with the idea of showing up to competition, and you've done what you can, and now it's like let the skills kind of speak for themselves, and that sort of approach. Is that talks to me. That's always been my sort of view of competition with jiu-jitsu, and I never really liked competition. I always just did it. You know, I didn't like the pressure, which is kind of a little bit what I pick up from what you're saying. Like, you don't necessarily, it's hard to put your best performance forward when you are feeling that pressure. But I do know this of Coach JT, that he sees competition very much as you go there to win.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about it a lot, we obviously have the Bulletproof podcast, and, you know, he's like, nah, fuck that. Like, I'm going to fucking, you know, take heads. And I'm like, I'm showing up to have a good time. Like, you know, they're not my enemies. I'm rolling down with these guys before we roll, you know. And he's like, nah, that's not how I see it at all, kind of thing. And it's just a different approach. How does that work for you being in a coaching scenario with him? Do you guys butt heads on that, or is there a middle ground that you're both able to work with?
Oh, I definitely think there's a middle ground, because when I first started engaging with him, I would say my mental strength wasn't as good. There was a lot more doubts, and there's a lot more like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm capable, or can I really do it, and, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, it feels like super out of reach. But because he's so like in his way of like, fuck everybody else, like you go to win, it sort of gives you that extra sense of confidence in yourself to be like, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, you know, like, I'm cool. Like, I'll just do my thing. And I think that's where you want that balance, right? Like, you want that balance to, you have a good time and you do your thing, but whoever steps in front of you, it doesn't affect that vibe. And I think that's sort of my opinion of, yeah, you go to win, but like, it's never about the person in front of you, right? Like, it's always about your own performance. So it doesn't matter. And that's why it's like, yeah, like I don't like to say I'll do my best, but, you know, like, yeah, you are there to win. Like, it is serious, but at the same time, like, you are there to sort of also enjoy yourself, because that's why you do it. You do it because you like it.
What do you think about the transition, looking at a sport like that, which is non-professional? Mm-hmm. Now it's in this kind of, you know, this interesting transition phase where it's going to become an Olympic sport potentially. And if you look ahead to like 20 years from now, and there's, you know, as we know, when things get into the Olympics and they become popular, then you get leagues start to pop up, and then it becomes a professional sport.
Yeah.
So it goes from being this thing that hip-hop enthusiasts and, you know, especially like breaking enthusiasts, where it's a very cultural thing. It's like we hang out, we put some music on, we dance, that's how we express ourselves, to now there's competitions, there's prize money, there's status and grandeur that comes along with winning. It obviously starts to then change. It can change the culture, not necessarily at that grassroots level, but, you know, you get these people who are like all of a sudden when you got big competitions, you got people who are like, I'm doing this, I'm going in to win. Like, that's fucking it. I'm highly competitive, and I just want to, I don't give, you know, maybe they're not as interested in the culture, but they're more interested in winning, you know, through that. How do you see that, like, you know, being at this early stage of it?
Well, funny enough, like, we're already in that stage. So I guess people don't, because there's not a light on it, and if you're not in the community, you don't really know. Australia is a little bit behind in terms of that scene, but definitely overseas, especially in Europe, there are a lot of people that do it full time as a profession, especially as competing. Like, the prize money overseas is enough for a lot of people to do this as their pro thing. And there's already pro athletes that are sponsored by Red Bull, and there's been a few that have started to get sponsored by Nike and Adidas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this has been a big discussion in the culture, because obviously, like, in terms of competition and athletic development and even being a professional in that scene, some people believe, like, a lot of the OGs believe, like, it takes away from the culture. However, like, if you compare it to skating, you know, skating and breaking are pretty much the same. The only difference is skating really took off in terms of the pro scene and, like, getting sponsorship and starting businesses and, you know, all that kind of stuff, having products for the general public to get involved with it. And I think breaking is just a little bit behind in the sense of being available to the public in all those types of ways. And obviously, like, any type of exposure, whether it's like through the Olympics or through like big competitions, is a good thing, because it just grows the scene. It gets more transparency to the general community, because there's heaps of kids. There's so many kids out there that want to break, and they just don't know where to go. There's no space for them to go to. And, you know, I think that's another discussion. But like, yeah, that's another reason why the scene hasn't been able to sustain, because people haven't been able to stay within the scene because you can't make money from the scene at the moment. But it's changing.
And that then, if people can't make money from it, then it means that the spaces aren't created, which doesn't give an inroad for younger generation.
Exactly. And then like the knowledge that they have in terms of being in the scene, and, you know, let's say if I compare it to jiu-jitsu, and he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he's the only guy that does jiu-jitsu in the town, but he can't open a gym, he can't run classes, so he just goes out and does another job. So all of his knowledge gets taken, and then there's a gap.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
When you talk about skating, and I think of like the brands that came up through skating, that because now like skating's a fucking huge thing. So many brands, so creative in the same way that breaking is. But yeah, you're talking about the Nike thing. Like I'd love to see, and I don't know the scene, but I'd love to see, you know, breakers who start their own labels that become the next Vans or the next Bones and stuff like that, because they're inside of it. That's kind of would be you know, if you were to look at it, maybe something that worked well with skating. I'd love to see that, and not have Nike and Adidas just swoop in and take the individual talents, but have like those grassroots people in the culture like coming up with some ways of making, you know, money out of fucking all the culture that they basically spread everywhere else, because they're working on it.
Yeah, do a line of merch, Ty.
Or, well, you know, I think he's already... You've dabbled, yeah?
Yeah, I used to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a name? What?
SIL, S-I-L.
SIL.
Yeah. It's on the shelf.
Currently missing in action?
Yeah. A little bit MIA.
Bruh.
It was too much pressure.
Bruh, fucking take it on, man.
Yeah, totally.
The people need it.
They do.
I wanted to start a merch brand for jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
Catchwares. Never did it, but there you go. There's the name. People out there. Catchwares.
Mad.
Fucking do it, bruh.
Yeah.
I don't know. We know how hard it is to fucking do that shit.
More money, more time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It is a full-time gig doing that stuff.
Yeah, totally. But there's a couple of brands. Like there's a nice brand from Sydney called Four Walls. Shout out. They're from the culture. His name's Pat, and there's Stacy, and there's also Rats.
Maybe those guys will sponsor your podcast when you kick it off.
Maybe.
Guys, big opportunity. Early days. This guy's going to be a fucking Olympian.
Yep.
Now's your chance to jump on board the hype train.
Yeah, new podcast coming. Stay tuned.
Got a name for that?
In the works. I won't release it.
Killer.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
happening.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so let's cut back to this injury piece then.
Yep.
So you were saying you feel like it's removed a bit of pressure momentarily.
Yeah, totally.
Is that with the view that, okay, once I've rehabbed this thing, I'm going to get back in the fire, and so I've just got this little window where I can like simmer down a bit? Or has it just changed your perspective of how the next couple of years plays out?
Maybe not the next couple of years, but more of a difference of perspective. Yeah, I just felt like a weight came off my shoulders.
Which is so weird.
Yeah.
But it's a lesson.
Yeah, big lesson. And it was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to milk the shit out of this.
That was the first thing you said to me when you came back from the physio that day. It was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, what? And then we spoke about it later. And you know what I brought up? Was John Jones. How he used to go out, and this is the lightweight champion, GOAT MMA fighter.
Light heavy,
sorry. Who come to find out 10 years later after his long reign, he used to go out the weekend before and go hard and do drugs and get wasted. And he explained a little bit like it took the pressure off him, because he felt like if he lost the fight, it would be like, fuck, I got blasted last weekend.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, there's something in that psychology.
Absolutely. I remember a powerlifting coach that I did a workshop with, Alan Romero, spent some time competing in Russia, and he was really blown away. He trained with this Russian powerlifting team for a period of time, took their training really seriously. They were all tapering towards this competition, and the competition was coming up on the weekend, and then they invited him out on the Friday night, and they all went out and got drunk on vodka, and then showed up to the comp the next day, and he was super perplexed. He's like, what the fuck is this? Like, you guys have been training so hard. And they're like, no, the hard work is done. Now we just relax a little bit, enjoy, and then we show up to the competition tomorrow. And
Totally. And that's sort of what I guess what I was trying to say before. And JT's probably going to beat my ass for saying it, but, you know, like that sense of not caring, you know, like, and just be like, yeah, I did everything that I could. And now it's just like I go there and I just trust myself and I have fun.
I mean, look, I've been JT's mentor for many years now. And I tell him, you know, I'm like, you need to stop trying so hard. You know, maybe if you tried a little bit less, you would go further. You know, but this lesson is still not one he's been able to embody, and so the journey continues.
But yeah, in terms of
It's a lie, guys. I'm not his mentor. Please go on.
In terms of back to the injury, it was like, no, like this is cool. Like now I actually get to learn something, because one of the things that I have a problem with in terms of coaching is because of my background with breaking, I can learn things quite quickly compared to the normal person that has to work really hard to get stuff. So not to brag, like just to say, like generally, like,
you got that upgraded operating system already.
Yeah. So like when it comes to learning things, like I can just be like, oh yeah, sweet. Like I'll have a look. And then usually I can figure it out. But the problem with that is I don't understand the steps to get there, because I just get the thing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to teaching somebody else how to do that, I don't understand necessarily the steps and how to actually regress the thing. And that's the thing that I'm learning. And so having this injury, it enabled me to take a step back and then understand, okay, like why do we need to do fucking bicep curls and tricep extensions? Like, you know, just the basic stuff. Because it just gave me more perspective of starting from zero again. So that was one of the things. Another thing was like, I've never, not for a long time, like part of like the creative process with breaking sometimes is to limit yourself. And one of the concepts that came from like a teacher, his name's like Po One, and we used to do it in our training all the time. We used to create stuff with one hand or 1 foot, or like, you know, like we just take away a limb, because then it makes you discover what you're actually capable of. So for me, it was like, yeah, sweet. Like now I'll practice and I can do something different. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think just having that sort of mentality behind it, I wasn't really hurt. It was more like, yeah, cool. This is mad. I'm just going to embrace it and just do the thing and fucking pump it on my socials, you know?
Yeah, because pretty much you went straight to that mentality, and like, you know, with the breaking thing, I say that the parameters there make you become more creative, and then bang, you were just the next day or whatever it was, you were flowing without one arm, and you could kind of see it, but you were masking it well, and it led to some funky shit, which is really mad. I thought that was so cool. And I like it as well for the listeners, for the general podcast, because that pretty much speaks to movement and training in general, with an injury, breaker or not. And if you have that kind of mentality, then you injure your leg, then you're going to go do something else. But it doesn't really stop. You just got to work around it, and it's a fun way to do it. It's a really great thing to do, and to have other things to work on is a very healthy way and keeps you moving all the time. It's good.
Yeah, injury is absolutely an opportunity. If you can see it as such. I think for people who are limited with their training perspective, like say if you go to, if you go to like just a standard kind of F45 type thing, where you just do these kind of strength conditioning sessions, and then you get you injure your hip, and it's like, oh, well, I can't fucking do that, Clark. But if you can look at like just a step, go a layer deeper, and it's like, oh, well, actually, maybe lower body's out for a little while, but I can really focus on upper body.
Exactly.
Maybe I could finally start to explore the handstand I've always wanted to do, without being sucked into all of these other things that maybe you like to do and are part of your regular training, but aren't necessarily pushing the needle that much for you.
Yeah. And like, I guess I got reminded of this, like, it all comes to mindset. I'm not so sure if you've read that book.
Carolyn Dweck?
Yeah. She's the one, and it talks about growth mindset, and then what's the other one? Like a victim mindset? Fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. Like, if you put too much focus on what you can't do, like for me, it was just an arm, but I've got 2 legs, another arm. You know what I mean? Like it's only a quarter of the limbs. There's still everything else. So there's nothing wrong. you know?
Yeah.
And I think if you have that sort of perspective, especially just for the general public, like it's real easy to like fall into a negative headspace and focus on the things that are like, fuck, can't do this, can't do that, can't do this. But you've got, like I said, I still got 2 legs and another arm. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think where general public get really caught up with that is when they're not able to see the different potential expressions of the movement piece. So they're like, well, I do jiu-jitsu and that's all I want to do. And if I've hurt my arm, I can't do jiu-jitsu and that's it. You're like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Like maybe rolling at jiu-jitsu is really exciting for you and you really like it, but maybe it'd be beneficial for your jiu-jitsu or for your physical development to go and do some weightlifting for 6 weeks, you know? And so, okay, take your time off jits, go do some weightlifting, then come back jits, more muscle, stronger. But if people can only pigeonhole themselves into that one aspect of physicality or that one like culture, like say with you, if you were like, no, I'm a hip hop guy, like I break. I don't fuck around in the gym. Barbells and gymnastic strength, I break. Then potentially, I mean, well, you're obviously very creative and you could adapt to it even in that setting. But you could see that would be a limited mindset for you too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally.
For your development.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a bad left leg and a bad one shoulder and
right,
I really see out of both eyes.
And don't forget the wrists, of course.
But, you know, I've still got one shoulder.
That's right. And fucking big. I mean, I think that's a classic part of the coaching journey too, is getting injured and then realizing, oh shit, I can relate to my clients so much better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know what, you're like, fuck, because it'll happen again. You'll keep getting, there's injuries all through the way and you're like, oh, that was when that person told me. Like, I look back after my knee injury and I think back to all of my warm-ups and classes for so long were super squat heavy because I've always had a really comfortable resting squat, and I would just do all of this low gauge shit. And there'd be people in the class like maybe who had a surgery some years before or had a stiff knee or whatever, and I was just like, yeah, just fucking get in there, do what you can. And I look back and I'm like, I could have been so much more accommodating to those people knowing what I know now, because I understand how uncomfortable that position can be for them. For us.
That's exactly what's happened to me from last weekend. I got an injury on the weekend, sorted it out, made me go down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I already felt like helped 2 people this week.
What was the injury?
I did the Spartan race, 10Ks, 25 obstacles with some members here at the gym. Did exactly 0 kilometers of running for it.
Perfect. Hips
have been a bit unstable. I've got this calf from my injury, and I knew this is bad going in. I'm going to get an overuse injury for sure. Exactly that happened. Side of the knee started getting pain while I was running, and it just got more and more. Come to find out, it's ITB friction. I've never had a running injury before in my life, so lots of people kind of will say, oh yeah, my knee's a bit, and you often say, oh, where is it? But because I've never had any knee injuries except for like a hyperflexion ones, and that was fine. It was pretty straightforward kind of rehab. I can't really offer so much in that space. But as soon as one of the members here was like, I've got, and not that I diagnosed it as on the spot, but it was like all the same things, and it's a weak glute. And it was just amazing because I asked, where is the pain? And then we tested it and it was at the same angle range, and then he explained how he gets it, and it's when he runs more than 3 kilometers. When he gets above that, it was just amazing, and I was like, that's fucking cool. And I gave him a couple of drills and to start with, and then you can go check it out from there. But yeah, imagine if you never ever copped an injury, how would you ever help someone?
Yeah,
not to say go and get injuries, but it just means that when you do have injuries, you end up just helping people who had that same injury.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a lot like the importance of relatability as a coach, but then also the importance of following a similar process to the one that you're peddling to your people. It's like, because, when they're like, oh, whatever, this strength program, I'm finding it really challenging for this reason. You can go, yeah, I know, because I also do strength training and I know what it's like. And I know that after 6 weeks of the same shit, it gets really boring. but we've got to make it to the 8-week mark or whatever. But you can speak from that place of I've been there too, versus the person who is just not, whatever. You're peddling something that's totally different to what you do for yourself.
Yep.
There's going to be so many blind spots that you really don't know about. Injuries are. I find that I sometimes get hung up on the injury thing. It's obviously something that I talk a lot about within Bulletproof.
Yep.
Because it's a huge part of jiu-jitsu, as it is with any contact sport. But injuries are so prevalent. Then you look at the flip side. So it's like, well, if you want to do a contact sport, you're going to get injured. But you look at the flip side, which is, well, don't do anything. You're going to get injured doing that.
Yeah.
So what I kind of settle on is that you have to get injured. Like, it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
And you can either choose to take the path of the training injuries, which come about because you are involved in a process of strengthening the body and expanding its capabilities. And the hope is that those smaller injuries, sometimes they could be big, unfortunately, but generally they're going to be smaller. The hope is that they can then protect you from the larger ones so you don't have to deal with those.
Yeah.
Versus never ever getting injured, but still getting injured because you're just avoiding physicality altogether. And then you do cop the big fucking injuries down the track.
Yeah.
Which is, you're just like, you're weak as shit and your knee buckles when you miss a step.
Yeah.
Or, you slip a disc because you're at the computer all day and you were getting out of the car wrong, whatever.
Yeah. And it's just like the percentage of like, you could get hit by a car, Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. But I guess, like, obviously if you better prepare yourself in terms of your physicality in your body, not in terms of you can avoid a car, but in terms of like putting yourself in different positions and different ranges, like I totally agree. Because like,
what happened to Brendan?
he got hit by a car.
Bilal?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How'd he go?
Unlucky.
His knees is a bit damaged. He had an MRI and
Oof.
And I'm not sure. He's probably got the results now. I should give him a buzz, but
Brendan, if you hear this in time, call in. Let us know, bruh.
let us know. Let's get you on the air. Yeah, it was a guy living out of his car who was a bit crazy, who just thought that him and his friend were hassling him and woke and disturbed him in his car. They got confused. He thought that B and his mate were the guys who disturbed him in his car while he was sleeping. So when B walked past, he saw them and started following him, and then he just fucking pulled in the driveway and just like, boom, hit them.
Oh, like maliciously?
Yeah.
Where the fuck did this happen?
Last weekend, Saturday night.
Like around here?
Oh, no, it was like Marrickville, Alexandria, Burrows Road, like, yeah.
Jeez, that sounds like a weird scenario.
Yeah, I know.
Are they like pressing charges and shit?
The cops will, because you can't go around hitting people with cars. He was like, I don't want to press charges. B was like angry as fuck, but what's he going to do? Like, he's angry. He wants to hit the guy and go like, what was that about? But he's a 60-year-old dude living out of a car is just a bit loopy, So anyway,
wow.
Cops will take action, but B's just like pissed because his knee's buggered right now. Yeah.
Fuck, poor guy. Yeah, I mean, that shit's always going to happen. Like, there's always potential for that random stuff. But arguably, if you are strong and in good shape, you're gonna bounce back faster than someone who maybe isn't.
Yeah, and like my injury was just a freak accident. There was nothing I could have done that would have stopped it.
Yeah,
maybe if I was a little bit more in tune with my body and I realized that I was tired, and maybe that's not what I should be doing. But at the end of the day, like I said, it was like a simple movement. It was super basic, and it just happened. There was it was out of my control.
Always at the end of a workout, last reps.
Yeah, always at the end.
It's like the last run when you're at the snow. It's like, go on, let's do one last one, and that's always where you get fucked up. You never declare last one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I feel that. And so, tell me more about that sort of idea of being happy about it, that it's taken the pressure off, but that there's other things that you can explore in your training now. Because, makes sense. Like, you can train with just one arm and your two legs, but I'm guessing that gets a little bit that wears off after a little while because you're like, fuck, how much stuff can I actually do there?
Yeah.
how do you continue to maximize this opportunity?
I guess just using it as a period of research, like there was just a lot of testing, figuring out what I can, what I can't do. Like obviously like my trainings changed a little bit, especially with my strength training. Yeah, it's hard to answer. That's like a really like hard question to answer, but it's more like, yeah, just use it, like just taking the pressure off. Like maybe I put the handbrake on a little bit, and maybe there's a little bit less care in terms of what I do, as long as I'm still moving and I'm still doing what I need to do and doing like my homework, doing my rehab, like that takes priority.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the time it was just testing. What I did find that was actually a bit of a struggle was the first week. I couldn't even, like I said, I couldn't even load my arm. I couldn't extend it. So something as simple as like a push-up position or a bear crawl or a bear hold, I couldn't do. So in terms of my warm-ups for when I was coaching class, I do a lot of stuff with all 4 limbs. So that really like tested me. And I guess it's also a blessing because it was like, okay, like now instead of just demoing and just showing how to do the thing, I have to learn to be better in how do I explain it and getting others to understand what I'm talking about without me actually doing the thing. Yeah.
Did you find it was tricky at first, the prospect of having to get someone up to demo something for you and you just talk through it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I guess because I still feel quite green in terms of like my coaching career. So in terms of, yeah, like doing the thing and then getting other people to come up and do the thing for you, because I'm just used to being able to do it all the time. Yeah, it was a little bit confronting, but I'm lucky that like a lot of the people, like a lot of the classes maybe had 1 or 2 people that could do the things that I need to do. So that was fine. And like I've got a couple of good regulars that I can really rely on, that pretty much know exactly what they need to do. And all I've got to do is just explain that to everybody else.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I remember coming to a similar point with my coaching and I still don't feel super confident to get someone up and talk them through a demo while they do it. There's a real art to that. You can almost bypass it by just doing it yourself.
Yep.
But you realize that you're not developing this other aspect of coaching to a group of people.
Yeah, totally.
How do you find that piece, Paulie? Do you do that much? Like talk someone else through a demonstration while you're talking to the group, or is it always you?
No, I have done, and I do. I don't make a point of doing it. I did it last Wednesday night this week, simply because there's people in the class that do it better than I do. When it comes to some mobility pieces, because say a young fella and he has a much more mobile spine. When he's doing this kind of spinal wave thing, people can see the intention of how it's supposed to look better. I haven't really thought about it. I don't mind doing it. I'd never choose someone who I didn't know had a level of body awareness, because then it would just be a bit of a train wreck. Hey, so just push your hips back there, and then just, they'd completely not be able to do it, and then I'd be in deep water.
Yep.
Like, oh, why don't you just step back over there and I'll get someone else? Yeah. Can't do that. But yeah, I do it occasionally. It is another piece, and as you were saying there, I was like, I should try and do that more to challenge myself with it. But I like that. I like not doing it because I can see it and point and cue. Dude, I'd use a whiteboard way more if I could, but fuck, I talk too much when I coach anyway. But I would use a whiteboard. He's laughing because I'm always like, I would use, and sometimes I do, like just with chalk, just to explain something,
Yeah.
Just to make it really obvious. But yeah, it's a powerful thing.
And like, I honestly think like that's the next stage of coaching in terms of like having a high standard or a high quality, being able to talk someone else through the thing obviously shows how well you understand the movement, but also how to communicate that to other people. And I think that's a really, really cool way to demonstrate, the quality of coaching. And I think a really good example was at your workshop, in the rings workshop, and you got Sheila. Sheila to do the demo. That was so mad. That was so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, she did like a ring support, like a plank on the rings.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old is she? She's in her
50-something?
Don't guess.
No, I shouldn't guess.
No.
But it was her birthday that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, she nailed it. Yeah. And I
Saw the picture.
yeah.
Strong.
Yeah, she did it. She did it really well. Yeah, it's an area of, because we're saying like before, I don't coach a lot in the front of a class much these days. It was cool to do that on the day a bit because it's a workshop. You have a bit more time to do it versus a class where it's usually like, I'll just do it myself because it's quicker.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. I think it shows that you have great understanding when you can coach someone else live to demonstrate a thing without having to say a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Like to make it effective versus they do it and you're like, okay, thanks, that was pretty good. Guys, I'll just show you again what that looks like, and you kind of have to just cover up your tracks a little bit.
Yeah. I've already noticed, in the past 2 weeks, I definitely think my coaching's gotten a lot better. Just because I've had to learn how to communicate better and more.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because you came to my rings workshop.
Nah, bro.
Coincidence? I don't think so. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I like that. I think we'll close it up there. I really think it's a perspective that we can take for granted. This one of like, I got injured, but hey, it's like allowed me to focus my vision on other things. I think it's a really valuable quality for people to try and adopt because injuries are going to happen. You're going to have periods where you're not able to engage. COVID was a great example.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, whatever you like, going to play squash twice a week, okay, you can't do that anymore, or your fucking weekend soccer's out, or whatever it is. But being able to go, all right, well, maybe it's not ideal, but I can still do these things, and maybe there's an opportunity for me to explore this other aspect of my body that I don't often look at.
Yeah.
I like that, and I hope that whoever's listening can take some inspiration from that, because injury is coming for all of us.
That's it. Just adapt.
When do you expect to be back at full power?
I've been cleared by the physio. I saw him yesterday, but it's more of a confidence thing.
Yeah.
So I reckon by next week, like I said, I'm pretty much 100%. I would say I'm 95. I can do everything that a normal person can do. But in terms when it comes to more,
You can do more than what normal people can do.
but
It's true.
But when it comes to breaking, it's still a little bit of testing here and there. But I practiced on Wednesday, and it was fine. I did heaps of dynamic stuff, and it was fine. So it's just a mental thing. There's a little bit of achiness, but I reckon another week, 2 weeks, I'll probably be back even better.
Good man.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on your socials and all that stuff? Anything you got going on, give it a plug.
The Boogie Bandit. Yeah, one word. Instagram. Find me. Handstands, raking. I teach kids also strength for B-boys. I got a handstand group starting in a week and a half, 19th of April. Capped at 5 people. Tuesday, Thursday morning, 5:30 to 7. I've only got 2 slots left. So get at me.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Bro, that sounds cool.
it's on.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Good to have you
you.
on the show. Paulie, good to see you always, bro.
Thanks, man. Boogie Bandit. Love your work. Good luck with the battle this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, bro. Yeah, win. Otherwise, JT's going to be real pissed off. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you dug the episode. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye.